So you have probably heard of the saying that you should build a personal brand, but nobody is telling you why or even how should you build it or where to start it. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Houston Cold. I built my personal brand on Instagram, which allowed me to live a better life. Meaning I met my fiancée through Instagram. I met a lot of successful and like-minded individuals through Instagram. I got to travel around the world. And that was before I even built my 100,000 people audience. And by the end of this video, I want you to have the clarity of why and how to start building your personal brand foundations so that you too can make the connections, get more business, maybe even go on that date that you always wanted. I will try to keep this as short as possible, but if you have TikTok brain, I'm sorry, this video is probably not gonna be for you. So before we get into it, we have to make one thing clear: the difference between an audience and a brand. Because a brand, your personal brand, it already exists. It's the reputation and the perception of your name. It's the thing that people are saying about you when you're not there. So if you don't have a personal brand, then you're not really in control of it. Whereas audience gives you leverage and social proof. I started to build my audience about 2 years ago. I started from 2,000 followers and I built it all the way up to 100,000 followers on Instagram. That leverage alone provided me with many business opportunities, networking opportunities. I was invited to attend masterminds, events. I was able to connect with other like-minded individuals. And that's the reason why I started to build my audience. I already had a brand before I started to build my audience. I was known as that content guy, right? But my influence was very small, like within my local area here in Dublin, Ireland. However, I can't complain. My brand, even locally, landed a few dream clients that I worked for, well, over 5-6 years right now. And even recently I got paid $3,000 for 3 days of work. So it just shows that even if you have a small personal brand, you can still do pretty well in business. So long story short, I started to build my brand because I wanted to attract more business opportunities. I wanted to stand out. I want to network with people. I want to meet like-minded people, right? I want to increase my influence, which then led me to building my audience. Now, I've made a lot of mistakes while I was building my audience. I got sidetracked by this shiny object, but now I'm kind of, realigning myself with my goals and my purpose, I guess, my ethos, which again brings me back to the concept of brand versus audience and your why you're doing it, why you want to build your personal brand. Is it to find and connect with like-minded people? Is it to get more business? Is it to just become more famous and more known in your local area? Because to be honest, it's very easy to become well known in your area using Instagram. Do you want to inspire 1 million people like it was my initial objective? And it still is. I don't think I've changed 1 million lives yet, but that is my goal. If you want to be Alex Hormozi, then you're obviously going to need to put in a lot more effort. You're going to need to put a lot more content. But if you want to just meet some new people, like-minded people, or get some clients, then you don't need to make content like Alex does on 5 different platforms, posting, I believe, like 300-400 pieces of content every single week, which is madness. Which leads me to the next point. Once you know your why, you got to decide what is your archetype. For example, my archetype is the artist. It's pretty straightforward. I specifically focus on lifestyle because my whole idea of creating content is that everybody is their own main character in their own movies. You are the main character of your own movie. And my idea of content creation is just creating that cinematic snapshot, that candid moment of capturing you in your movie, right? Making it cinematic, making it look inspiring, creating a piece of content that makes people go like, okay, this is cool, this is interesting, something along the lines of that. Because again, personal branding is reputation and reputation is perception. You can control how people perceive you. You can curate. There's a saying that all social media content is curated, which is true. There's nothing to be ashamed about it. It is curated. And the better a job you do at curating your life that you are living, you're not trying to deceive people, the more people like that you will attract, as long as you position yourself or you present yourself the correct way. So what do you want to be perceived as? Are you an athlete? Are you a lifestyle entrepreneur? Maybe you're a CEO and you want to be like Alex. For example, if you are an athlete, then most of your content is probably going to be some sort of B-roll where you're working out, you're in being inspirational, you have some inspirational quotes, inspirational captions, inspirational music, all of that stuff. If you look at Tom Nosky, for example, he is a creative first, but athlete second, right? He does all these Ironman things. I don't even know what he does, but he's a madman. He's super fit, epic stuff. And his best content is the inspirational / motivational content. Do with this information what you must. But if you're a lifestyle entrepreneur, you probably travel, you probably work from your laptop. So you can show yourself working in all these cool locations, hotels, luxury cafes, restaurants, just working from them, right? You have access to these scarce resources or desirable resources, and you show them. And people that want access to these resources, or they have access to these resources and they like that lifestyle, will very likely connect with you. So once you decide on your archetype, maybe you're a crypto bro, maybe you're a professional dancer, I don't know, just pick an archetype and stick to it. The next step is creating that foundational content, those 9 to 12 pieces of content, photos, carousels, maybe even some videos that create that cinematic snapshot. And the way I want you to think about the cinematic snapshot is, what do people see when they go into your profile? Is it something that they vibe with? Are you authentic in that? Is that actually the best representation of you? And if you want some inspiration, you can analyze very well established brands like Daniel Dalen. Very cool cinematic snapshot, as I would call. Iman Ghazi is obviously one of those. Tate Brothers, also up there, very cool. You're obviously not going to be able to recreate their content, but you can source inspiration in terms of what the colors look like, what the composition looks like, what do they show, what do they don't show, which is equally important as what you show. The best way I can put it, if you look at their accounts, right? It is a vision board / mood board. They're living the life. Essentially, they're living the life. And it's the life that most people want to live. Does that mean that you need to be rich like them or do all these cool things? No. You can easily take things that, for example, in your local city, there are landmarks, there are restaurants, there are luxury hotels, there are hikes, there are activities, right? There are social gatherings, parties, etc., that you can attend to and create cool content, right? You can recreate, get inspired from those guys, recreate content like that, and your Instagram is gonna 10x in terms of just social status by itself. And again, remember, people judge a book by its cover. So if your Instagram looks boring and uninspiring or somewhat disconnected all over the place, then people are just not going to care. So at this stage, you have your why, you have your archetype, you've looked at some inspiration, you have some content ideas that you can recreate. There's only one thing left to do, which is execution. So some recommendations in terms of executing all this content creation. Number one, show that you have access to desirable or scarce resources. For example, if you look at my Instagram, on content in the videos, I'm usually in my studio, always filming stuff, creating value for people. But on my photos, on my feed, you're gonna see me in Iceland, Greece, Lake Como, in a McLaren, in an Aston Martin, maybe in a festival, in different circles, different masterminds. It essentially just shows that I have stuff going on in my life. If you have content experience, then you're not gonna have much problem creating said content. You probably understand composition, cinematography, light, so on and so forth. You understand the elements that make content good and cinematic. However, if you don't know these things, I would just recommend you learn more. And if you want my personal help, just go on my Instagram and DM me hybrid, and we'll see if it's a good fit for us to work together. The other way to do it is to actually get a friend or two, take photos of them in these cool locations, create these cool moments, and then you guide them to do the same for you. Or maybe you already have somebody who is good with content, which is even better. They can do it all for you. At this stage, you should have 9 to 12 high status pieces of content, something that makes you stand out, something that makes people pay attention, right? You're trying to capture their attention, and you want to post them not all at once, but spread them out once every other day, just to kind of slowly recalibrate your social media account. And It also means that you're going to have to probably archive a lot of crappy selfies and college day photos. If you have those, I'm not sure. The stuff that I have archived on my profile is kind of outrageous. I'm not going to lie. And that's it. But if you want to know the things that I wish I knew before I started my personal brand, click this video down here and I'll see you then.